I didn't find out because of lipstick on a collar or a late-night confession. I found out because my cat stopped liking me. That sounds stupid, I know. But she was always my cat. Slept on my chest, followed me into the bathroom, sat on my laptop like she paid the bills. Then suddenly, she started avoiding me. Hissing sometimes. Clinging to my wife instead. At the time, I joked about it. Said something like, "Guess I've been replaced." I had no idea how right I was. I'm married. Or, I was. Together for 11 years, married for 7. No kids, just that cat, Milo. Life was normal. Predictable. Safe. We had routines, inside jokes, the kind of quiet comfort you think means everything is solid. My wife handled most of Milo's vet visits. I trusted her with that. I trusted her with everything. That's kind of the theme here, I guess. Trust. And how easily it can rot without you noticing. Milo had some stomach issues about a year ago. Nothing serious, just enough to warrant a few extra vet visits. My wife insisted on taking her every time, said she liked the vet because he was gentle, and actually listened. I remember thinking that was a weird compliment for a vet. She started going more often than necessary. Follow-up visits, second opinions, dietary consultations. It felt excessive. But I didn't question it. She's always been the more attentive one. Looking back, there were signs. She'd come home later than expected. Sometimes smiling in this distant way. Like she was replaying something in her head. I asked once, casually, "Everything okay at the clinic?" She said, "Yeah. He's just really thorough." I didn't think anything of it. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't start as betrayal. It starts as something small, something explainable. Something you don't want to ruin by asking too many questions. So you don't. The first real crack wasn't even about her. It was my friend who said something. We were having beers, just decompressing after work, and he asked, "Hey, doesn't your wife go to that clinic on Maple?" I said, "Yeah." He smirked in this weird way and said, "That vet has a reputation." I laughed it off. Asked what he meant. He shrugged. "Just heard he gets close with clients. Especially the regulars." I rolled my eyes. It sounded like small-town gossip. People love to invent drama where there isn't any. Still, it stuck with me longer than I'd like to admit. That night, I asked her about him more directly. Not accusatory, just curious. She got defensive immediately. "Why are you asking?" That should have been my second red flag. Not the question itself, but the tone. Sharp. Guarded. Like I had stepped into something I wasn't supposed to. I backed off. Told her I was just making conversation. She smiled after that, but it didn't reach her eyes. After that, I started noticing things I hadn't before. Her phone was suddenly always face down. She started taking it into the bathroom with her. That was new. Notifications would pop up, and she'd swipe them away quickly, like it was muscle memory. Once, I caught a glimpse of a name I didn't recognize. No last name. Just Daniel. I asked who that was. She didn't hesitate. "Oh, that's the vet. He texts updates about Milo sometimes." That sounded reasonable. But also, weirdly personal. Why text? Why not call? Why not go through the clinic? Again, I let it go. Because the alternative, the possibility that something was wrong, felt too big. Too disruptive. I think part of me knew, even then. Not consciously. But somewhere deeper. You don't change your behavior that much unless something else has changed first. And she had. The turning point came on a random Tuesday. Nothing dramatic. No big fight. No obvious trigger. She left her phone on the kitchen counter when she went to shower. That never happened anymore. And I wish I could say I respected her privacy. I didn't. A message popped up while I was standing there, staring at the stupid thing like it was going to bite me. Can't stop thinking about earlier. My stomach dropped. I shouldn't have unlocked it. I did. The messages weren't subtle. There was no ambiguity. No room for misinterpretation. They weren't just flirting, they were detailed. Intimate in ways that made my skin crawl. Inside jokes I didn't understand. References to specific moments. To the clinic. To after hours. One message from her said, "I think Milo knows something's up. She acts weird when I bring her there." He replied, "Maybe she's just jealous I get more attention than her." There was a picture too. Not explicit. But enough. Her. Smiling. In a room I recognized from the clinic website. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit down. I remember thinking, this can't be real. Like I had accidentally stepped into someone else's life. But it was her phone. Her words. Her. I didn't confront her right away. I don't know why. Shock, maybe? Or fear of making it real. I just sat there, scrolling through months of messages. It wasn't new. This had been going on for a long time. Long enough that there was no mistake, angle. No. It just happened. This was deliberate. Sustained. Chosen. By the time she came out of the shower, I had already seen too much. She knew something was wrong immediately. "Hey, what's going on?" I held up her phone. She froze. And in that moment I saw it. Not guilt. Not immediately. Fear. "What is this?" I asked. My voice didn't sound like mine. She didn't answer at first. Just stood there, wrapped in a towel, dripping water onto the floor like none of this mattered. Finally she said, "It's not what you think." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Then what is it?" I asked. "Because it looks a lot like you're sleeping with our vet." Silence. Then she sat down, like her legs gave out. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. That line. That cliché, overused, empty line. Something inside me snapped. "You didn't mean for it to happen for 6 months?" I asked. She started crying. I didn't. I just felt hollow. The confrontation lasted hours. Or maybe minutes. Time didn't feel real. She tried everything. Denial at first. Then minimization. Then full-on confession when she realized I had read enough. "It started as just talking," she said. "Of course it did. They understand things you don't," she added at one point. That one hurt more than the cheating. Because it meant she had already rewritten our entire relationship in her head. I asked if she loved him. She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. "I don't know," she said. I nodded. Because I suddenly knew something very clearly. It wasn't just that she betrayed me. It was that she had already left, mentally, emotionally, long before I found out. I slept on the couch that night. Didn't really sleep. Just lay there, replaying everything. Every memory felt contaminated. Vacations. Holidays. Quiet nights watching movies. All of it now had this shadow over it. I kept thinking about the cat. How she had changed. How animals pick up on things we ignore. Maybe Milo knew before I did. Maybe she sensed the shift. The tension. The guilt. Or maybe I'm just trying to find meaning in something small because the big thing is too much. At some point, I got up and sat on the floor. Milo came over. For the first time in weeks, she climbed into my lap. And I cried. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quietly. Because everything I thought was stable had just collapsed. The next few days didn't feel like real life. It was like we were stuck in this loop. Arguments, silence, then more arguments. Sometimes we'd sit in the same room for hours and not say a single word. Other times it would explode over something small, like who forgot to take the trash out. She kept trying to explain herself, like if she just found the right combination of words, it would suddenly make sense to me. I felt invisible, she said one night, sitting across from me at the kitchen table. Like we were just existing, not living. I remember staring at her, trying to connect that sentence to the woman I thought I knew. Then why didn't you tell me? I asked. She looked down. I didn't know how. That answer stayed with me. Because somehow, she didn't know how to talk to her husband of 11 years. But she knew exactly how to open up to a stranger. Knew how to flirt, to share, to build something emotional and physical with him. That contradiction ate at me. She said it just happened. That it started as harmless conversations during appointments. That he listened, that he asked questions I hadn't asked in a long time. I kept thinking, when did I stop asking? That question hurt more than I expected. Because it planted doubt in me. Made me wonder if I had some role in this. If maybe I had become too comfortable, too predictable, too safe. But then I'd remember the messages. The planning. The secrecy. The months of lying. And that guilt would turn back into anger. She offered to cut him off completely. I'll never see him again, she said. I'll switch clinics. I'll do whatever you want. But I didn't want to control her. I wanted to trust her. And that was the one thing she couldn't give back. What messed with my head the most was when she said, it didn't mean anything. Because I had read the messages. That wasn't nothing. But even if it was nothing, that almost made it worse. Throwing away a marriage for something meaningless? What does that say about the value of everything we built? About me? I didn't know which version hurt more, the idea that it was deep and real, or that it was shallow and disposable. Either way, I lost. I didn't plan to see him. I actually avoided the clinic for weeks after everything came out. The idea of being in that space, their space, made my skin crawl. But Milo needed medication, and my wife had already moved out by then, so it fell on me. I almost sent a friend to pick it up. I should have. But I went. The clinic looked exactly the same. Clean, quiet, that faint antiseptic smell. Normal. Completely normal. That's what struck me the most, how ordinary everything felt. Like nothing had happened there. Like it wasn't the place where my marriage had quietly fallen apart. He was behind the counter when I walked in. I recognized him immediately. Not because I had ever met him before, but because I had seen pictures. My wife had shown me once, months ago, when she was talking about how good he was with animals. At the time, I didn't think twice about it. Now, it felt like I had been shown the villain in advance and just ignored it. He looked up, saw me, and smiled politely. Can I help you? That smile. I wanted to punch him. Instead, I just gave Milo's name and asked for the medication. He typed something into the computer, then paused. Oh, he said, like something clicked. You must be her husband. That sentence hit harder than I expected. Her husband. Like that was my only identity in that moment. I stared at him longer than I should have. He didn't look special. No charisma radiating off him. No obvious charm. Just a regular guy in his 30s or 40s, wearing scrubs, acting professional. That was almost insulting. Because in my head, I had built him into something bigger. Someone who must have had something I didn't. But standing there, I realized something uncomfortable. He didn't take anything from me. He was just there. Available. Willing. The real betrayal didn't come from him. It came from her choosing to cross that line. Still, I hated him. Not because he won, but because he had been allowed into something that was supposed to be ours. He handed me the medication like it was any normal transaction. Let us know if you have any questions, he said. Us. I nodded, said nothing, and left. I sat in my car for a long time afterward. Just staring at the steering wheel. Trying to process how something so destructive could exist in a place that looked so ordinary. That's when it really sank in. Affairs don't happen in dramatic, movie-like settings. They happen in everyday places. Between normal people. And that somehow makes it worse. We tried therapy. Even now, I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it was habit. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was this stubborn part of me that couldn't accept that 11 years could just end like that. You don't build a life with someone and walk away easily. At least I didn't. The first session was awkward. We sat on opposite ends of a couch, like there was an invisible line between us. The therapist asked basic questions: how long we'd been together, what brought us in. Neither of us wanted to say it out loud at first. Eventually, I did. She had an affair. Just hearing myself say it made it feel more real. More permanent. The therapist nodded like they'd heard it 1,000 times before. Which I guess they probably had. We talked about communication. About unmet needs. About emotional distance. All the standard things. And some of it made sense. I could see where we had drifted. Where routine had replaced effort. Where comfort had turned into complacency. But there was a gap. A huge one. Because none of that explained the choice she made. Plenty of couples drift. Not all of them end up here. At one point, the therapist asked me, "Do you think you can trust her again?" That question stayed in the air longer than anything else. I didn't answer right away. Because I wanted to say yes. I really did. But every time her phone buzzed, my chest tightened. Every time she left the house, even just to go to the store, my mind would start spinning. Who is she seeing? Is she really where she says she is? That's not trust. That's anxiety. That's living in a constant state of alertness, waiting for the next thing to go wrong. And I didn't want to become that version of myself. The guy who checks phones. Who tracks locations. Who questions everything. That's not who I was. And I didn't want to become someone I didn't recognize just to keep a relationship alive. So slowly, painfully, I started to accept something. Love isn't always enough. Sometimes the damage is too deep. And no amount of talking can rebuild something that's been fundamentally broken. We separated 3 months later. There was no single moment where we said, "This is it." It just became obvious. Like a quiet understanding that neither of us could ignore anymore. By that point, we were basically living as roommates anyway. Sleeping in different spaces. Eating at different times. Avoiding eye contact unless necessary. The house felt empty even when we were both in it. The actual process of separating was strangely calm. No screaming matches. No dramatic exits. Just logistics. Who takes what? Who moves out? What happens to the shared accounts? It felt cold. Transactional. Like we were dissolving a business instead of ending a marriage. She packed her things over a few days. I remember watching her fold clothes into boxes, thinking, this is really happening. 11 years reduced to cardboard and labels. She took most of the furniture. Said it made more sense since she was moving into a new place. I didn't argue. I didn't care about the couch or the dining table. I cared about what those things represented. And that was already gone. I kept Milo. That wasn't even a discussion. "She's more attached to you anyway," she said. I almost laughed at that. If only she knew how much that meant to me. When she finally left, there was no big goodbye. She stood by the door for a second, like she wanted to say something. "Take care of yourself," she said. That was it. No apology. No grand gesture. Just that. The door closed, and the house went silent. I stood there for a while, not moving. Waiting to feel something dramatic. But all I felt was empty. It's been almost a year now. On the surface, things are fine. I go to work. I come home. I take care of Milo. I see friends occasionally. Life continues, whether you're ready for it or not. People ask what happens sometimes. Coworkers. Mutual friends. I always give the same answer. We grew apart. It's simple. Clean. Doesn't invite more questions. The truth is messier. Too specific. Too uncomfortable. Because saying, "My wife cheated on me with our vet," changes the entire tone of the conversation. People don't know how to respond to that. Honestly, I don't either. I still think about it more than I want to admit. Not just the betrayal itself, but everything around it. The small signs I ignored. The moments that seem obvious now, but didn't at the time. I replay conversations in my head, wondering if I could have done something differently. Asked more questions? Paid more attention. But then I catch myself. Because at the end of the day, I didn't make her choices. She did. And that's something I'm still learning to accept. What bothers me the most isn't just losing her. It's losing that version of myself. The one who trusted completely. Who didn't second-guess everything. That guy feels naive now. And I don't know if I'll ever get him back. Milo still sleeps next to me. Curled up like nothing ever changed. Sometimes I watch her and feel this weird mix of comfort and sadness. Animals don't carry the same kind of emotional weight we do. They just move on. I wish I could do that. Just reset. Start fresh. Forget. But it doesn't work like that. You carry things. They settle somewhere inside you. Quiet, but always there. And this is something I'll probably carry for a long time.